Hello everybody, this is Massimo and welcome to the first video tutorial of QLC+. In the next few minutes we're going to see how to make the first steps on this program to configure it to use your external devices, either USB, DMX, MIDI and network interfaces. So this is QLC Plus. When you open it, it's quite a blank page, and we're going to jump directly to the input-outputs panel that you see here below. So here I've got a bunch of stuff connected just to show you the potential of this software. There are several USB devices. I've got a USB MIDI interface, and I configured my network cards to recognize an ArtNet device. I've also have an OSC software running on my Android phone, and we'll see it later how it works. So as you can see, the panel shows several columns. The type of the plugin is here, and then the device name. The device name is either detected automatically from the device, or it's user-friendly name, like for ArtNet and for OLA and for OSC. Here you've got columns with checkboxes showing the possibility that QLC Plus offers you to connect to your devices or to your network interfaces. So it's very simple. You click on a device you are interested in. For example, this is a very cheap NTEC compatible dongle, and it can only performs output, DMX output. It's a USB to DMX serial cable, let's say, and here there's in this panel you can see some additional information about the device and the status of it. So the driver says the device is operating correctly, but it's not open yet. So if I click on it, I actually enable it. So right now, with just one click, I've enabled the device, and it's already starting to output DMX signal to your universes, to your lamps, lights, or whatever you've got on your DMX chain. When I click on a device here, on a checkbox here, you can see that I've actually patched the device, the input, output, or feedback that we'll see later, to a universe. In this case, I've got universe 1 selected. I've got no input selected yet, and I patched my DMX USB cable to my universe, and it's showing here that I've got just one output connected. Going on, here there's another DMX USB dongle, which is quite, let's say, advanced, because it has two outputs and one input. It shows here the possibility of this device, so you can see one input and two outputs here. Then I've got some MIDI ports available, and my very cheap dongle that I bought on Amazon for $10 more or less just have one input, one output, and the feedback is enabled, because when I've got an output, when I've got an input, I can when I've got an output, I can have a feedback as well. I'll explain later what a feedback is, because it's let's say an advanced concept, but it can be quite useful sometimes. So when you enable an output, usually on a DMX USB interface, you can see a LED blinking on your interface. So if it is blinking fast or with another color or whatever the manual of your device says, it means that QLC is actually sending something to your device, so it's working properly. If your device is not detected properly, you can click on this icon here, on this button here, and a panel opens up showing you the possibility, showing you the device is connected and the configuration that QLC Plus wants to use on those devices. If you're not happy with it, you can change them. You can change them here, and to force another type of device. Usually you don't have to do this, because for example, if you click on Pro RX, it's to set your device as an input device, and in my case I've got an output device, so it wouldn't work properly, but you quickly realize that because nothing works actually. So usually you don't have to touch this, but it can be helpful sometimes to tune your device. And that was the case for DMX USB. If you go to ArtNet, for example, which is a network protocol, you've got different parameters here. So for example, right now I've got something on my network, on my ArtNet network, but I haven't selected the output, so there's nothing here that can show me what's going on. So let's go to I can deselect it, or I can directly click here, and you can see that the output now is open. It doesn't refresh in real time because it's a waste of CPU, but if you go to another entry here and go back, you can see that it has discovered one node, and it has already sent more than 800 packets over the network. So let's go to see what's going on here. So on the nodes tree, you can see that there's one node on this network, and it actually discovered a DMX King device, which is actually there. It tells you the IP address that the repeater has, and that's it. It's just for let's say checking up that everything is working. Here you can set more universes. You can assign other universes to a network card. So for example, if you want to control 3 universes with the same card, you just need to click here, and then you will see an entry for the other universes. So for example, just to give you an example, now I selected this as an output. If I go to universe 2, I don't have the output possibility here, but I can receive actually. If I go to add another universe control here or here, then they will appear. So on universe 2 I will have the possibility to output on ArtNet on the same network. This is quite useful when you have to control different lights, when you have a lot of lights and you want to divide them logically by universe. Now let's go to see what input is. So I select this again. So a common case of use is through MIDI interfaces. MIDI devices can be almost anything you can find on the market. So it can be a simple MIDI keyboard if you like, or it can be an external controller like the Behringer BCF 2000 or the Nano Control from Korg. They are basically a bunch of faders and buttons, but they allow you to control QLC Plus through a MIDI interface without the need to use a mouse or to click or to be a sniper to reach a button or whatever. So you've got your comfortable external controller, and you can move the slider and press the buttons over there. Now I've selected this MIDI interface, and it says the input is open here, and I can see that it updated also the universe profile. So now I've got an input and I've got an output. How to check if a MIDI input is working? Simply by moving something on your external controller. So in my case, I've got a MIDI keyboard connected, so I'm gonna press any key, and as you can see that it's receiving data because there's a joystick blinking here. Every time it receives a signal from the input, it shows a joystick here. So this is the very first check to do if an input signal is arriving to QLC Plus. If you don't see the joystick, then it means something in your hardware chain is not working. That's a fact, and most likely you probably have something working correctly but not perfectly. So you might want to check this panel. This is the MIDI configuration panel, and as you can see, there's a list of devices, either outputs or inputs, and for each device you can assign a MIDI channel, and you can assign the MIDI mode, let's say, that can be control change or note velocity. Usually external controllers use control change, but if you want, you can set MIDI notes as well. For example, from a keyboard you might want to have MIDI notes, and that's it. But the most important thing is that you see the joystick here. If you don't see it, then there's some kind of problem. So OSC is another network protocol implemented natively in QLC Plus, and as a controller you can use mostly other softwares. As far as I know, there are no dedicated devices to communicate through OSC. So for example, as I mentioned before, I've got Touch OSC running on my Android phone, so I'm gonna show you what is possible on OSC. So I enable the input here, so I've got an OSC network connected, and I want to check what are the parameters for this network. So the default port that Touch OSC on Android uses is this one, and you can set an IP address as well to output to a Touch OSC device. So in my case, I've got 13, and this is the IP address and the port that I need to use to send feedbacks to my phone. So I'm gonna click OK. It updates the parameters. So as shown before, I'm gonna check if OSC is actually connected. It says it's ready, but let's gonna check. So I'm moving a slider on my phone right now, and as you can see, the joystick is present. So it means that in my case, I've got a Wi-Fi network, so I'm controlling, basically I can control QLC with my phone over a Wi-Fi network. So if you've got, like shown here, an OSC input through a Wi-Fi network and DMX USB output, you don't really need to put your hands on a laptop or on a PC, because you can control it from a touchscreen interface or whatever you like. Here there are some other plugins that I'm not gonna show because I don't have anything connected, but to mention a few, the Entech Wing is a controller, a MIDI controller as well, made by Entech. HID is a human interface device. It has been designed to control QLC or some part of QLC Plus with a joystick, for example. So it's very friendly to control, I don't know, for example, your moving heads with a joystick instead of a mouse or other controllers, and that's the proper way to control them. Here we've got other devices. Some of them are quite old and don't even work on all the operating system. Right now I'm using Linux, but some devices might not be present on other operating system. For example, you will never see DMX for Linux in Windows, of course, and some more. For example, I don't see the Veleman interface because it's not supported in Linux. So once you are happy of your configuration here, you can proceed to other universes. For last thing are feedbacks. So the one interesting thing is that when you use an external controller, you might want your controller to be perfectly synchronized with QLC Plus. So if you assign a slider of your BCF 2000 to a slider inside QLC Plus, there might be cases where you want to move your slider with the external controller, or either way. I mean, if you use your mouse to move the slider from QLC, you might want to see your physical slider moving on your external controller, and that's what feedbacks are. So if I have my BCF connected here and I select it for a feedback as well, when I move a slider in QLC Plus, I will see the slider moving on the BCF as well. This is a particular case because BCF 2000 have motorized faders. Not all the external controller, of course, can take advantage of feedbacks, but they can be quite useful in many cases where you might want to have your hands on a real controller and not on a PC mouse. Same thing for OSC. You can see I've got a possibility to enable feedbacks here as well, and same story. I will see the sliders moving on my phone or my tablet when something happens inside QLC Plus. There's another panel here. There's another tab named Profile. Here there is a bunch of ready-made profiles that I can use to quickly map, let's say, my controller against QLC Plus. For example, if I've got a Behringer here, BCF 2000 connected, I just select it, and everything in QLC Plus from now on will be recognized as a BCF 2000. Here the profile has been updated, so here I've got the complete case. So universe 1 input MIDI, output DMX USB, feedback MIDI as well, and profile Behringer BCF. Just a quick note on what profiles are. So let's open, for example, this one. The general thing here is the name and the model and the type, which can be MIDI or OSC. The channels mapped here are basically all the channels that can be used on from a BCF. So I've got all the knobs, I've got all the buttons that I can press, and the sliders. The BCF has 8 sliders, and then some control buttons over here. What if I want to create a new profile? So there's a big plus here, create. Okay, I'm gonna create a new profile, which is, I don't know, my name, and the model is tutorial. I don't have, well, I can map some MIDI channels here. You can create channels manually one by one, or a short way can be to use a kind of wizard. So I click on it, and message informs you that you are in wizard mode, so you have to move or press buttons and sliders from your external controller, to send a signal to QLC Plus, and then QLC Plus will recognize it and give it a name. So let's see what happens if I do it with my MIDI keyboard, which is basic black and white keys. Okay, so I'm pressing keys now, and so on. What happens if I do it for a OSC device? I don't know. Again, I want Touch OSC to do something for me, but right now I'm not connected with Touch OSC. So here it goes again, profile. Okay, as you can see, it created a new profile here with an ugly name, but okay, I'm gonna edit it, channels, and now I'm gonna move some slider on my Android phone, and this is what happens. I enable the auto detect mode, okay, and here it is, slider 1, okay, and then I've got another slider here. I've got some buttons, toggle buttons or push buttons, and so on. So in this way you can create very quickly and very easily a profile for your external controller, and that's it. I think that's all for this tutorial. Thanks for watching.